Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and I wanted just to do a quick video on callbacks because people were asking about it. Now, I have covered callbacks before, so if you haven't seen my functions masterclass video or my array masterclass video, I highly recommend watching those. I'll cover some of the stuff here as well, but you'll get more cool stuff there. But all a callback is the idea of calling a function in another function. That's it. That's it. So let's say I would do const my func1. Okay, and what my func1, it takes a func as a parameter. Okay, so that's our parameter in the function. And again, if you aren't familiar with functions yet in JavaScript, then you should probably go watch my functions masterclass video first before watching this. Okay. So basically, this function takes a parameter. And again, you can pass anything as an argument into a function. Okay? So whatever I pass in this function becomes a func. But I'm going to design this function assuming that you're going to pass in another function as the argument. So I'm going to just say, hey, a func, and then I'm going to call that function. I don't know what this function is yet. It could be any function. Okay? Okay, cool. And then I could actually pass an argument to that function, assuming that it takes an argument. So, hello, and I'm going to do that just because I'm going to pass in console log. So I could be like my func1, and then pass in console.log. Okay, the logging function. So basically, what happens is that console.log becomes a func. So when I invoke a func, it's basically calling console log, and then I pass in hello, so it should just console log hello. Nope. One command. Node functions.js. And see, that's all it did. It just console logged hello. Because again, console log gets passed in, and then we call console log and pass in hello. And that's all a callback is. You're just passing a function as an argument into another function. But there are a lot of where it gets tricky is just that other functions are designed assuming certain things. So you have to. So the tricky part with callbacks isn't the idea of passing a function; it's just knowing how to use them. So this gets like the best first example is using it with arrays. So arrays have these what's called higher order array functions that all are callback functions. They all take a function as a parameter. Okay. So let's say here we make an array. My R equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I want to get rid of all the numbers above 2. Okay, I just want 1 and 2. How would I do that? Okay, so I want to store in a new array the result. And what I would do is I would take my array, and I'm going to call its filter function. And filter will allow me to filter out the things I don't, well, it really filter out the things that I do want. Okay? And what I do is I have to pass it a function to check. And whatever that function is, it has to return true or false. Okay? So first I'm going to show it to you separately. I'm going to define the function separately, then pass it in. And then I'll show you the other way. So we're going to say, we're just going to call this const filter. And then I'm going to do value and index. And this is something you just know by reading the documentation, that all these array functions, they generally take two parameters. The first parameter is always the value of the array of the array. So the first time it's 1, then it's 2, then it's 3, and then the index of that position in the array. So they generally all work that way. And again, that's the thing with callback functions. You have to read the documentation for each individual one to know how to use that one. And all this does is return whether the value, that array's value, is greater or is actually less than 3, because we only want the numbers 1 and 2. That's it. So anything that's greater than 2 we want to get rid of. So the numbers that we keep should be less than 3. And that's a Boolean expression. So basically this is going to end up resolving to true or false, and that gets returned. So the way filter works is that it's going to run this function, so this function called filter, and it's going to keep running it again, first for 1, then for 2, then for 3, and basically return the resulting array. So just to see that it works, let's console.log new r, the new array, to see if it does what we think it's going to do. So, and it does. So let's walk through the steps. We created an array, my r. Then we said, hey, we're going to make a new array, but that new array should equal what my array has minus these, going through this filter. And then the filter is this function here. So it goes to 1, runs the function. Okay, is the value less than, which is 1, less than 3? Yes, 1 is less than 3. Is 2 less than 3? Yes. Is 3 less than 3? No, no, no. So these 3 get false, so they don't end up in the new array. So here, only array with 1 and 2 gets passed in, the new r. We console log that array, and that's why we see 1, 2 here. So that's it. Okay, now, this can be sometimes kind of hard. This is not, like, it doesn't look bad, but if you have all your functions defined somewhere else, it may be hard, because now I see that this, I have to go figure out what this filter function is if I'm reading your code, so now I have to go look around to see where you defined it. So what a lot of people will do is they'll just define, especially since they're not probably going to use that same exact function again later on, what they'll do is they'll just define the function in the parameter list. So if we get rid of this part, get rid of the semicolon, we just take this piece right here, that's the actual function. Well, let me just close that parentheses. You just take that, and then just plop that in here. And that's the same thing. So this is typically what you see in the code. You often see like the function, just sort of a function that's defined within the argument, okay? But it's still a function. It's just a function being passed through. It's the same as me passing in filter in a variable. It's just that I'm defining the function right there, because why waste the variable name? And this will do the same thing. So if I save this, run the code again, 1, 2, okay? And that's all a callback is. You're just passing a function as an argument to another function. But every function that takes a callback works differently. So you need to read the documentation. Okay? How do I know that value and index are passed in? Because I read the documentation. There was no magical way for me to know that without having read the documentation, practice it, tried it out, made sure that I understood what the function did. You know, and that's where I think a lot of people have trouble with callbacks. It's because they think there's some magical way to just kind of know when do you use a callback, which functions take that. No, you don't. You have to read the documentation on every function. What are the parameters that it's looking for you? What are the arguments it's looking for you to pass in? And what do you expect that function to return, so that way you can use the function correctly. But that's it. That's all a callback is. You're passing a function into another function. Cool. I'll leave it at that. I'll see you guys later on. Have a great day and enjoy.